Welcome, and thanks for watching HERR Story. HERR Story stands for Heroic, Eloquent, Resilient, and Relentless Women. This is a platform that was created to help empower women in telling their stories while empowering others to share their stories as well. Hello, and welcome to HERR Story. This is my very first podcast. I'm excited to bring to you guys. It's been a working project for a very long time. HERR Story is about me telling my story, and I've battled coming out telling my story. This has been a challenge for me, but also helping other women to tell their story, help liberating them and telling their stories as well. So I have Ms. Vet Green here with me today for support because I believe that as women we need to come together and support each other and encourage to help heal each other. So she's here for spiritual support to help me get through this and telling my story because I've never told my story.
And this is your
So
chance.
I appreciate you being here with me.
Of course, I would not have missed this. Are you kidding me?
Thank you.
Her story been brewing for a while.
Yes, it's been brewing for a while. This is something that started brewing as a child, because I've always had a passion for women and young ladies. And then I was a teenage mom, so being a teenage mom, I've always just had a passion for young women. Wanting to reach out to women who may be in the same situation and situations that I've been in, but to encourage them and let them know that they can make it through it, that they're not alone. So I have an incredible story that I've never told, and a lot of it I've never shared. But now is the time that I want to come out and share that story, open up and tell my story. So her story is heroic, eloquent, resilient, and relentless is her. So heroic, I feel that as women, we're heroes every day. We're superheroes every day. And it takes a special type of heroic attitude to come out and tell your story. I feel like there's a heroism in that. And eloquent is being able to tell your story, being able to fluently elaborate on your experiences and explain and convey that in a story, sharing that. Resilient, we're resilient women. I know I'm a resilient woman. And as women, we take so much. We take so much on. We endure so much on a daily basis, and we keep going. We keep take a licking, and we keep on ticking as if nothing ever happened. It don't matter what we're faced with, we make it through somehow. We work it out. So the resilience and relentless, that relentless, you're not going to hold me down, you're not going to stop me, you're not going to keep me from my goal. And that's what her is. That's her story. And I feel like it takes all of that to come out and tell your story, to speak your truth. And so that's where I'm at now, coming out and telling my story and speaking my truth. And it's been brewing for a long time. It's been brewing for a long time. I've been battling with this and holding on to it. But God has revealed to me through a series of events that now is the time. So I want to tell my story and encourage other women to do the same.
Yeah. Why now? What made you take that step now in this time in your life?
I can definitely say I've been through some things. I've been through some things. I've got a whole lot of experiences. I've tried things my own way. I've tried things a whole lot of different ways. But more recently, I've been on a spiritual journey, and I started diving deep. I started diving deep within myself and, just asking the question, what is wrong with me? I'm not even going to say what is wrong, but what is going on inside of me to where I'm feeling like I feel? And what is it that's holding me back from pursuing the things that I want to pursue? So in diving deep, it just kind of went to, okay, well, when did this start? When did I start feeling like this? And I can say for the most part, a lot of it came on when I lost my grandmother. So pinpointing when it happened, when it started, and how did I get here from when it started. So I can definitely say when I lost my grandmother, it hurt. It hurt a lot because she was she was my everything. She didn't specifically raise me on her own. My mom was there too, but she was there the majority of the time. And she was just always there. Anytime I wanted to know anything, anytime I asked a question, she'd always answer my questions. And she always told me about life. And, you know, she was my rock. So when I lost her, I felt like I didn't have nobody else. And I had already lost my mom about 5, 6 years before that. So I felt like I didn't, who do I turn to now? So I went into a dark place where I didn't want to deal with anybody. I didn't even have a cell phone. I got rid of my cell phone. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be bothered. And I didn't care. I truly did not care. And in not caring, I went through some things because I didn't care. You know, I just really didn't care what was going on around me. I sunk into a hole. And I stayed there for a few months. So she passed in 2015, and in 2016 I took a job where I went on the road. And in taking that job, that's when I decided I said I'm going to do something different. And I said, instead of leaning into religion, I'm going to lean into spirituality. And that made all the difference. That truly changed my life. So once I went on that spiritual journey, and I'm diving deep, and I'm exploring, and I'm learning, and I'm just doing a whole lot of learning about me, trying to figure out different things about myself. I read a whole lot of books, you know. In that deep dive, when you're seeking something, whatever, you know, things will be revealed to you. If you're seeking, if you're looking, you're gonna find something, you know. So along the way, as I'm seeking and I'm having these conversations with God, and I'm praying and I'm in meditation, and He started revealing things to me and opening up, and that's led me to open up and be more transparent, because I've come to the conclusion that I've carried this for all these years, and I've allowed it to hold me back and keep me from doing so many things. I've allowed it to keep me from really living, you know, living a fullness in my purpose. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live in my purpose. I want to be free of this feeling. I don't want to feel like I'm in a dark place anymore. And I know I hadn't always felt like this, you know, so I want to get back to that, who God is calling me to be, you know, that feeling that I used to have before going through this. I think it's a grieving. I think it may have started off as a grieving, and then you get complacent in your whatever you got going on in your situation, and then, you know, it kind of worked for you for a little while, and you don't have to explain nothing, and you ain't got to talk about it, and, you know, and so you get stuck in that. And as along the spiritual journey, I found myself, it's been hard coming out of that, you know, because I'll have periods where, okay, I'm inspired, I'm coming out of it, and then, you know, we're creatures of habit, so then I find myself creeping back into those habits of wanting to be alone, and you know, just back into that shell, back into that. I say a closet. I refer to it as a closet because I feel like I've literally been in a dark closet, and all there is just this little hole, this little peephole, and I've just been peeping out that hole, waiting to come out. I literally feel like that. And now the door is opening, the door is cracking, you know, I can see the light. And I'm not all the way there. It's a process. And this is definitely part of that process.
Yeah. Owning it, which it sounds like you've done.
Yes.
Acknowledging that it really is a process. And you went through something that stood out to me, is that you acknowledged that a lot of what you had gone through after your grandmother passed, it was probably due to grieving.
Yes, I was I was listening to a podcast some time ago, and there was like a mental health somebody on there, and I asked her a question. They were talking about what were they talking about? I can't remember what they were talking about, but I asked her a question: is the loss of a loved one, like one of those characteristics? And she said, well, I think you're in a grieving process. You haven't truly grieved, or so.
And there's cycles to it.
Yeah, and I hadn't until she said that, I really didn't think that I was grieving. You know what I mean? But it made total sense that I guess this was how I processed the loss. But more recently, so in me soul searching and digging deep, I came to the conclusion that she wouldn't want me not to live. She wouldn't want me not to pursue my dreams and live my life in missing her. And what I understood is that I held on to the fact that I lost her, that I no longer had her, and that's what I was holding on to. And that's what hurt, because she was my go-to. She was all I had left. So it hurted not having that. But I just recently came to the understanding that she wouldn't want me to live like this. She wouldn't want me to be stuck and stagnated in pain, hurting from the loss, from her not being here. And so she used to always tell me, keep living. She used to always say, keep living, baby, keep living.
You understand that now?
And so I needed to be reminded of that, because she wants me to keep living. I'm supposed to be living. I'm supposed to be living my life, living my best life. My grandmother, she was a businesswoman. I remember, I think she had a floral business. I know she had a beautician. She did a whole lot of different things. And so she was really a role model, just listening to her stories and all these different things. But she was always there for me, and she always told me about life. So it was always like a educational learning experience, and I cleaved to that, you know. So, and I miss it. I definitely miss it. And sometimes it's like, Grandma, I just need you to give me the answer and let me know what to do, But in missing her, in losing her, it's time for me to start living, because she would want me to live. She would want me to be pursuing my dreams and going for the things that I want.
Yeah. You talked about coming out, and earlier you had said something about the things that we are holding on to. You want to elaborate a little bit about what, I guess, prompted her story, like digging deep inside of yourself and figuring out who Rochelle is? Obviously helped bring on her story, but you want to elaborate and talk about, I guess, what was the most profound thing that you felt like in digging deep that you needed to heal from?
I would say the most recent was definitely the loss of my grandmother, because it caused a spiral of events. But before that, being a teenage mom, that experience, being in school, pregnant, and having a child, being a child, I can say that in digging deep, that's something I probably never really dealt with.
Didn't have time.
I can say I never really dealt with that, because I had to be a mother. I had to be a mother, and I put my child first. So, and she may not understand it, but I feel like she really made me, and in essence, we grew up together. We grew up together. I wanted her to have a different life, and I wanted her to have the best of, and I didn't want her to want for nothing, and so I went hard. I went really hard in the paint, because I wanted her to have everything I didn't have. But what they did was that spoiled her, super spoiled her. Super spoiled her. I didn't know what I was creating by giving her those things.
And she's your first.
That's my first. That's my first. I mean, to this day, I still call it my baby. But I can definitely say over the years that I've been healing from that. And more recently, I let go. More recently, I let go of all the pain associated with that, all the years of everything, the negativity or whatever, the trauma, the pain. I let go of all of that. And I have to. I have to. God has showed me that there's so much power in our testimonies. There's so much power in my testimony. And it's time for me to speak my testimony. When I was younger, I used to be big on testimony service in church. Like, I was in church all the time.
You enjoyed that part?
Yes, I enjoyed testimony service, and I didn't always testify. But I remember hearing the elders and the different people speak in church, and I would be encouraged listening to their stories. Okay, if they made it through, and oh my God, they went through that, and they standing here like they ain't been through nothing. You know, I think the Bible says we are overcome by the power of our testimonies. Something like that. I don't want to misquote this word either.
Yeah.
But we are overcome, and we can help liberate other people. And just like it touched me as a child, you know, it's time for me to tell my story, give my testimony to help others. You know I'm not the only one that went through this. I'm not the only one that feels some of the things that I feel, you know, on a daily basis, because we're women. You know, we go through a lot of the same things. We're so much more alike than we are different. But as hard as this battle has been for me to tell my story and come out and just speak my truth, and I'm educated and I can speak and, you know, all these good things, and it's been very hard for me. I can only imagine how hard it is for someone who doesn't have all those things going on, who, you know, who doesn't have the confidence or who can't reach out and just say, I need help, you know. So I just want to be that voice. I want to be that light, that encouragement to say, hey, you can make it. You know, give me your hand. Let's make it together. Let's walk this walk together. You can be freed from that pain. You can be liberated from what's holding you back. And that's where I'm at. So this ain't no overnight thing. This ain't no overnight thing.
It's a process.
This is a process. So it's not just today. So I'm constantly evolving, and I'm constantly becoming her. You know, this is an ever evolving, moving pieces here, and it takes time. It's taking time. Just like, so my oldest daughter is 28. She's 28 years old. So some of the things I've dealt with, this is 20 plus years that I haven't addressed these things that I've suppressed over the time. You know, and so they just recently resurfaced in me digging deep, in me searching and just want to live out my purpose. God, what are you calling me towards? What do you have me lean? You know, what do you have in store for me? And I want to be that all that God is calling me to be. I want to be obedient. During the pandemic, God was revealing different things to me, and I'd have this inclination to make these calls and reach out to certain people, and then I wouldn't do it. We talk ourselves out of things, you know, like, oh, they busy, or oh, I ain't talked to them in so long, or oh, they got this and that going on, whatever the case may be. And then I didn't make those phone calls, and then it would seem like a short period of time later, I'd hear that something serious had done happened to them, or they passed, and then I'd be sick to my stomach that I wasn't obedient when God was telling me to reach out to them. So in saying that, you know, God is directing me in this path. He gave me her story. I didn't come up with her story. He gave me her story, and then after he gave me her story, he confirmed that it was her story. Everywhere I looked, I saw, tell your story.
He will send those signs. You don't even have to ask.
You
He
hear
will
me?
send those signs.
Everywhere I look, so I got all the confirmations, and it's time. It's time.
Yeah, to not hold on to it.
It's time to let go and let God. That's absolutely time.
Her story. What can we expect from her story?
Well, I anticipate from her story, it's going to be a lot of tears shed. It's going to be a lot of chains broken. It's going to be a lot of liberation and freedom in I can make it through this. I'm not the only one. That if she, and whoever she may be, but if she made it through, then I can make it through. If she went through all of that, then maybe what I'm going through might not be as bad as I think it is. You know, but in addition, that I'm real big on each one teach one, each one reach one. So, but in addition, going back, giving back, and pulling another young woman, you know, that you see that's hurting, that's in a situation, and us coming together and healing each other. That's the vision. So I have this idea. You know, I don't even know if it's possible, but I have this idea.
Oh, it's always possible.
I have
God
this
gave it to
idea
you.
in my mind's eye of a community of women loving and embracing each other, coming to each other in love and uniting, encouraging, inspiring, and just being there for each other, just totally being there for each other, embracing each other rather than the envy, rather than the jealousy, rather than well, oh you, whatever, you know, rather than any negativity. Sister, how can I come and service you? How can I be of service to you and what you have going on? You know, if it's nothing but relieving another woman of some time so she can spend time with herself.
Yes.
You know, as women, we often don't have that because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. We're so busy being there for everybody else, and then we got to be everything too. You know, so I found recently I had, you know, because it's self-help, not self-help, this
Self-development, self-help, personal development.
yeah, self-me time, right? So, you know, that's the thing now, this self-time.
I like that,
And
self-me time.
so when I had to think about this thing, it's like, when do I really spend time with me and working on me, you know, loving on me? And initially, all I came up was my spa day that I spend my time in my little tub and do my feet and, you know, I pamper me. But it's like, wait a minute, is that all you're doing for yourself? In all the hours in a day, all the things you're taking care of, this is all the time you're giving to yourself. So, but learning that, hey, I haven't been loving me enough. I haven't been loving me.
What do you think you haven't? What do you think sparked that? Because a lot of times we don't even realize we aren't loving on ourselves.
I can 100% agree, 100% agree. When I look back, I think we love on ourselves in different ways. I think we love on ourselves in different ways. When I look back and I look at me over the years, it kind of looked like I wasn't ever loving on me, just from me looking back at me. But there's different levels. There's different levels to loving you. So I can love me in the mirror. I can love my physique and not love anything about what I have going on psychologically and emotionally inside.
Loving the real you, the all of you.
You know, or I can love the person that I am inside and the fact that I'm this loving person and I have all these attributes and I can't stand my body. I hate my body. So there's different levels of loving yourself, you know. And I feel recently I'm coming to a fullness in loving me. I'm falling in love with me right now. This is me falling in love with me, and that's where I'm at. I feel like I've spent a lot of years loving other people more than I love myself, giving more of myself to other people than I gave to myself and to my children. And this time around in the game, I'm about to be loving on me.
I know
it's
that's
time to
right.
love on me.
I know that's right. What do you hope the listeners and the people who are going to gravitate towards her story get from her story?
Ideally, I'd like them to be inspired, encouraged, empowered to make a decision, to take that step, whatever that step may be. Sometimes we need somebody to believe in us. Sometimes that's all we need is somebody to believe in us and say you can do it. To take that next step and that motivation, but ultimately to empower women, to just empower them to come out and tell their story and be liberated like I plan to be liberated, like I have been liberated from telling my story. Ideally, that's the goal. I just want to empower women to come together and let's help each other, let's help heal each other through this pain.
Do you recognize based on the things that you've gone through in life, do you recognize that in other women when you see it? And if you do, how do you respond to that?
I do. I do recognize it in other women because I've been there. You know, I've been there. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I know what it exhibits on the outside, you know. And when I see that, all I really want to do is embrace that woman. I just want to hold her, you know, and just let her know it's going to be okay. You know, that you don't have to go through this alone. That's every time I see it, that's what I want to do. I just want to hold her and just embrace her, you know. So I can't embrace and hold everybody, but this is me holding and embracing because, like I said before, I feel like when I look at you, you're a reflection of me, you know, and I'm every woman. You're every woman. So rather than tearing down or taking away, I'd rather add to and build up. So that's the goal.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're going to do even more healing through talking on her story and talking through the trauma and testifying to, you know, this is what I've gone through, but look at me, I'm still standing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will. I will continue to heal. I will continue to be freed of these things that I'm feeling and going through. And I will be out of this dark place and this darkness because I feel it up. I feel it. I feel it. It's already happening.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend earlier, and she was like, "Girl, you breaking them barriers. You busting them walls down." And I have to. You know, I feel like I've sat back too long and let too many things happen, rather than stepping up and making the change and doing what I needed to do for me. You know, we get complacent. We get comfortable in situations until something shakes up or something changes, and you're like, oh, you know what?
Sometimes
This
we
ain't
have
what
to
I
be
thought it
shaken
was.
up.
Well, we sure do. A lot of times we do have to be shaken up. Sometimes God got to come and slap some of us beside our head. Some of us
Pay attention.
Some of us might get it from somebody else's story.
True.
And they don't have to get slapped upside the head. So if I could definitely help somebody from keep somebody from making those decisions and going down a direction they don't have to go, from telling my story and from helping other women tell their story that they can relate to, then it's all worth it.
Yeah.
It's all worth it.
It's going to be worth it.
It is. It is. It already is. I have a lot of conversations with a lot of women all around the country, and I wouldn't necessarily say I mentor them, but I mentor them, you know, and they call me for advice and all this good stuff, but we go deep.
Yeah.
We go deep because I'm going deep. And I can, like you said earlier, I can identify when someone's hurting, something's going on. So I might not necessarily say that, but rather, hey, let's just go a little further. Let's just go a little deeper and unpack that. Let's unpack that pain and that decision that you just made.
Yeah.
And why are you making that decision? And that's what I had to do for me.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like this? How did I get here? What happened over time that led me to this?
Do you feel like now you found what it is that you've been searching for, or you're closer to what it is you've been searching for? Because it's always fighting us. That thing that we're constantly searching for, going on Google, asking the question, why am I here? It already knows, but it's us slowing down that process of becoming. Do you feel like through your own self-development, personal development, that you are closer to figuring out who Rochelle truly is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always been very confident. I've been very confident in who I am and where I'm going and what I want. In this spiritual journey, it's just taking me on another level took me on a roller coaster ride that I didn't anticipate. I didn't know the roller coaster ride was going to be like it is. But along the way, I've learned to embrace that. Not deny it, not run from it, but let me run into this and embrace it and accept it for what it is. For a long time, I denied myself different things, and sometimes we be knowing things. Something inside of us will let us know, give us an indication, and then we deny that. We deny what's naturally inside of us telling us something, and we excuse it. And we say, oh, it can't be that, oh, it ain't that, or he loved me too much, and he would never, or she would never. It can't be what it looked like. But everything inside of you was telling you that's what it is. And we fight that. But that's our natural antennas inside of us. And so the last few years I've just been learning to embrace that and just listen to that, to tune into that. And that's part of what led me here. Just digging deep and tuning in.
Yeah.
Listening, being still.
How are you feeling about what's going to happen this season of HERR Story?
I'm excited. I'm extremely excited about what's going to happen this season in HERR Story. I'm extremely excited about the women, the young women who are going to be uplifted and who are going to be empowered and who the testimonies are going to touch them and they're going to relate. And then they're going to reach out. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about, I'll speak of this community and I see it coming. I'm excited about that community.
Yeah.
That community of women that's just going to love each other, embrace each other, support each other, just be there for each other. I decided to have this podcast. I started recording myself. And then I'm looking in the mirror and I found every reason not to start the podcast. I found every flaw within myself, every little everything. And I'm like, I'm not going on camera like that. I'm not, and we talk ourselves out of things. So I started talking myself out of it. And then I talked to a friend of mine and I was explaining to her why I talked myself out of it. So as I'm looking in the camera, all I could see is my front teeth. And in my marriage with my ex-husband, the last day I was with him, he beat me and he knocked my front teeth through my lip. So I wear a partial. So as I'm looking at the video, all I could see was the imperfections in my teeth. And I'm like, I'm not going to record. I don't want to record. I don't want to be in the camera. I don't want that. It just started bothering me, but only because I feel like it was that, we make excuses not to do things. We come up with all kind of ideologies in our head to not make a decision. So I was talking to her about my mouth, and she was like, "Bro, you just have that." She said, "You know how many wounds women are walking around with, and they have to look at every day, and they're dealing with every day, different broken bones, and just all kind of things." going on with their bodies from being abused and from being beat. And then after she said that, I'm like, you know what? This is my war wound. This is my war wound. This is part of my testimony. And so then I felt a liberation from that, from something that had been holding me down so long, and I smile, but my smile isn't like it used to be. And, I'm self-conscious about it. However, that is part of my story, that being beat, having to have my teeth come through my lip, having to wear a partial, that all of that is part of my story and why I'm here today. And that needed to be heard. Other women need to know that. And so I was like, I went through my little pity party about it or what have you, but I was like, that's not even a reason to stop me. The same reason he did what he did, and he told me, he said, I'm going to make sure you never smile in another man's face. So for those same reasons are the same reasons why I have to have this podcast and I have to tell my story and speak my truth with my partial in my mouth.
Oh, no, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? So all of those things, that experience, that's my story. And I'll tell you how it happened. So the very last day that me and my ex-husband were together, I had already moved out. We had done split up. And I moved across town. In some kind of way, he talked me into moving in with me. So then he moves in with me, and it wasn't working because now he just want to watch me. He just want to watch my every move and what I'm doing. And I was in college at the time, so I'm going to school, and he would do things to keep me from going to school. He'd take the vehicle, leave me stuck with the kids, all kind of crazy stuff when it's time for me to go to school. And so I'm going through this for a while, and I was, this was my husband. So I was like, so I started drinking. I started drinking to stay in it. And as long as I wanted to drink, he was happy with me drinking, and he'd get me as much alcohol as I wanted. Now, that didn't last long. I feel like it was just a few months. But as I'm drinking to stay in that relationship, I realized, no, he is the problem. Let's get him out of the relationship, out of the equation, and I don't have to be drinking this alcohol to still be mad and upset in something I don't want to be in. So, I asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. So I started packing up his stuff, putting it outside, thinking he would leave, and then he'd bring the stuff back inside. So this one in particular day, I had all this stuff outside. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. So then he packs up his things in my van, and then he proceeds to pull off.
In your van?
In my van. So then I'm like, what are you doing? This is my car. I get in the car, and I'm like, you're not going to take, my car. He's being spiteful. So he started beating me right there. And we were at the stop sign. This was in Norfolk, Virginia, near Granby Street. So he started beating me in the car, and then he pushed me out the car onto the street. And my kids were in the apartment door watching this happen. It was, it was a few feet down the way, but they could still see what was going on. So he pushed me out of the van, and then he took off. So now I'm in the street bleeding. The kids come run, the neighbors come run, and my teeth was basically hanging out of my mouth. So I wound up at the hospital. He wound up at another hospital. And my neighbor, she watched the kids for me, and once I was out of the hospital, she was there for me, and this was right before Thanksgiving. I couldn't eat any Thanksgiving, so she cooked. She made me some foods that I could eat because my mouth was wired up. So they had taken the teeth and they tried to surgically put it back in, hoping that it would take root. So I wore a brace for about a year or two, hoping the teeth would take root, and they never did. So then when they did take root, I was like, I'm going to sue this man, and all kind of stuff I wanted to do, which they never work out. So then I started wearing a partial, and I've worn a partial ever since. So that's one of my war wounds. from being in a bad relationship, being in that marriage, and going through that. Coming out of it, I thought to myself, if this is what my husband did to me, what am I to think of the next man? What more am I to expect of the next man? So I can say of that next man, I may not have set the expectations as high coming out of that relationship, coming out of that marriage. But in addition, I didn't give myself the time to heal and process what I had went through either.
Yeah.
You know.
Or set the expectations for yourself as well, you know, about what it is that you want out of that relationship or even out of a significant other.
Right. I didn't know, and all I really had was my husband to go by, you know. And in a sense, I depended on him a lot. And so then coming out of that, I'm in a whole new town, I'm in a whole new area. I haven't dated in a long time, you know, so just that whole dating thing was exhausting.
Tell me
I
about
don't
it.
want to do this at all.
Okay.
That was exhausting after being, you know, in a relationship so long. And I was with him since I was a teenager, you know. So at 23, I'm wearing a partial. At 23 years old, and I'm starting over again with 2 kids after that. So I moved back to Louisiana, where I was from, because when I got married, we moved to Virginia. Moved back to Louisiana to start all over again. I told myself, I said, if I'm going to fight this fight, if I'm going to fight this battle with this man, I want to be on my home ground with the people I know and I can trust. And so I moved back home, and so that my kids could be near the family and, you know, we'd have that support. And then I went through the divorce and the spousal support and all of that. And it seemed like it lasted forever because he would continually do things out of spite. You know, so as soon as we finished one battle in court, it was like, oh, you think you won that one? I'm going to get you the next time. So then he's taking me to court again. And so I'm winning that one. And he's like, okay, I'm going to try something new. So for 16 years, we stayed in the courts.
That's crazy.
16 years we stayed in the court.
That had to be so defeating.
Oh, my God. When my daughter was 17, he tried to take me to court again. He tried to take me.
For what?
Because at this time, now she's living with him.
Oh, okay.
Now she's living with him. And so he wanted to flip the script and file for child support.
I done heard it.
At 17. I said, we are not doing this no more. I done been through this too many years. I done been through this too long with you. But it's amazing how people claim to have loved you and loved you so much and go out their way to hurt you. And so for all those years, he went out his way to do things to hurt me, him and the woman he married after me. They would conspire together, and I thank God that that God is a God of favor, because in those courtrooms, the judges saw straight through it. I didn't have to plead. I didn't have to, the judges saw straight through it. Yep, and I won every time. Every single time.
What's your plans for this summer coming up?
This summer, I got a lot of things I'm working on. HERR Story is one of the bigger things that I'm working on. But I have a lot of projects I'm working on, business projects, a lot of connections that I've just recently made that I want to nurture and explore. So I got a lot of things coming up that I'm really excited about. This is going to be a great summer. This is going to be a great, empowering, uplifting summer.
Amen.
And I'm ready for it. It's overdue. It's overtime. I want to be that light. I want to be that light. I want to be that voice. I want to be that hope. I want to be that inspiration for women. And I want to bring other women along the way for the ride to be that same light and inspiration. Because we all go through different things. We have all different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences. My experience isn't necessarily your same experience, but we've had similar experiences. And what I'm going through right now may not be what you're going through right now, but you've gone through it in one form or another. And ideally, I want to just bring women together to share those experiences so that we can empower each other. so that we can empower each other. I think it's past time for women to come together, really come together. There's definitely a movement of women in business coming together and doing major things. But that movement and women coming together and embracing each other as women, like that time when we met and we embraced and queens fix each other's crowns. That's what they do. I don't have to compete with you. We don't have to compete. Everything doesn't have to be a competition. Everything ain't got to be my hair this, your hair that, my chest this, your chest that, your behind this. Everything doesn't equate to that. And I want women to see the bigger picture. I want them to not see themselves as an object, not see themselves as their physical appearance, but there's so much more. And not to just devalue yourself to a BBL or whatever it is. I don't even know. It might be BBW fault.
I was thinking that too. Then I was like, no, that's Bed and Bath Works. That's
I don't
Bed Bath
even
Works.
know whatever it is, but we're worth so much more than that. And it really bothers me to see the younger women and they all want to be the same. The exact same, like with my daughter doing her eyebrows and all that. Why all y'all gotta have the same eyebrows? Why y'all gotta all have the exact same eyelashes? Why y'all gotta all have the exact same chest? Why y'all gotta have the same ass? Like, it just don't make sense to me. When God made us individually, there's only one me. There's only one you. Be that one you. And that's what I'm embracing, being this one me that God is calling me to be.
Yeah.
And I'm just answering that call, and I want to be obedient while I still have time. That's where I'm at.
That's a powerful statement right there. While you still have time.
While I still have time.
Les Brown said the wealthiest place on this earth is the graveyard.
It's the graveyard. I was passing by the graveyard yesterday thinking the same thing when I went and stopped at the park. I was like, do I go chill at the graveyard because it's the wealthiest place? Or do I go chill at the park?
Talking about rustling of the dry bones. Man.
I went and chilled at the park.
Yeah, that scared me when I heard him say that because it hit home. The wealthiest place is the graveyard.
Absolutely.
Had me questioning my own mortality.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like none of us want to leave this earth and not have reached, or at least try to reach our full potential.
Amen.
I think we owe it to ourselves to try and reach our full potential and be the best us that we can be. I can definitely say that I've slept on myself for a long time. And so often we're told that you can't, that you won't, that you'll never do certain things because you're this and because you're that. We're given all these negative connotations rather than more people saying you will and you can. And this is how you do it. Here's the roadmap, So along the way, I've learned to just take my time. I used to want everything real fast, right now, how I want it.
That microwave, throw it in the microwave.
I used to want everything right now, but now I want to take my time and savor some things and do it slow because it lasts longer.
Yeah.
And the same thing with HERR Story. This is an evolution. This has been a thing in the works for a long time. It's only appearing here now in the physical, but this has been in the mix. This has been brewing. It definitely has been. And so I just want to encourage y'all to follow HERR Story, hashtag HERR Story, HERR Story. Tune in to our upcoming guests that we're going to have, and listen to their stories. Share their stories. Share their stories. Tune in, watch us. We're going to be airing every other week, starting the second week in June. Follow Rochelle S. Thompson. And I look forward to the next episode and sharing more stories, more women's stories to empower other women and encourage them to tell their stories as well.
Okay. You did that.